So we told you a little earlier, the Supercommittee on Deficit Reduction threw in the towel Monday. They acknowledged they would not come up with a compromise when it came to taxes and spending cuts. The result of not reaching this agreement is mandatory cuts set to start taking effect in 2013. Their inability has sparked new criticism for Congress from voters across the country. Joe Krier, president of Krier Wealth Management, here to talk about things and how we don't have to wait until 2013 to feel the impact of these cuts. So, Joe, let's start with the basics. What were the sticking points here? Why couldn't they agree? Why couldn't they reach a compromise?
Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff at play here, but it pretty much fell down party lines where the Republicans weren't willing to increase taxes and the Democrats didn't want to cut spending. And, you know, the truth is, in the end, they're going to have to meet in the middle of that one if they want to get anything accomplished.
So is this politics as usual in D.C. these days?
I think it is, you know, and it's actually spiked up a little bit here because we do have a presidential election, you know, a year from now, and everybody seems to be posturing. You know, I think the bigger overriding theme is that the economy is still in the dumps, and it's tough to do spending cuts when, you know, all that's going to do is put more people out on the street. It's tough to raise taxes when all that's going to do is reduce incentives. So, you know, they're really stuck between a rock and a hard place here.
You know, you talk about people being put out on the street. We did a story earlier today about the fact that the Navy is taking some of its sailors who are at a certain pay grade, giving them pink slips because they're trying to save money. Defense Department set to take a big hit with some of these mandatory cuts. Let's delineate some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the biggest one is right there. It's in defense, and hopefully that doesn't result in you know, our soldiers out in the field having any less protection than they need. But there's a lot of large defense contracts out there that may be able to be shaved, but they're preparing nonetheless. And Medicare this is about payments being made to doctors. Miscellaneous, who knows what that is? That could impact any of us. And then, of course, interest savings is sort of an accounting trick where they're saying, well, if we reduce all these other things, then we'll have to pay less on the debt as a result.
You know, there's an old saying, you can make statistics say whatever you want. Is some of this smoke and mirrors here? I mean, are we talking about the fact that this is really going to bring down the debt, or no?
It's pretty rough, you know. When you look at the fact that our budget essentially is $44 trillion over the next 10 years, and that's a conservative estimate, they're talking about trimming $1.2 trillion of that. It's a pretty shallow thing. If you and I were doing that in our household budgets, maybe that would equate to 50 or $100 a month.
You know, this has all been very negative. It will continue to be a political hot potato throughout the course of the presidential elections, as you pointed out. Is there any silver lining here, anything positive?
I think there is a couple of things. One is that, of course, this is on the table. You know, we are talking about it, and it does seem to be the key issue going into the presidential election. You know, it's really about jobs and the economy, but we've got to get this deficit paid, or we're going to be in the same situation that Europe is right now, 10 years from now. We don't want to face that. So it's on the table. And part two is there are mandatory cuts out there. So they did say, hey, if we can't agree, well, we're going to have this actually happen. And in my book, that's a step in the right direction.
Immediate impact? I mean, we talked about 2013, but how about now?
Yeah, I think immediately, you know, what you're going to have is a little bit of voter lack of confidence in U.S. Congress. People are upset about it. They feel like they haven't done anything. You know, Occupy Wall Street is sort of an outpouring of that. And bad mood by holiday shoppers isn't good for anybody. And then, of course, employers that are looking to hire people, they're saying, hey, we're not sure what Congress is going to ram down our throat, if anything. So everyone's kind of sitting on their hands waiting for this to play out.
Does this play out after the presidential election is said and done and 2013 rolls around?
I think it does, and there's a lot of big issues in between now and then, like the expiration of the book's tax cuts, extension of unemployment benefits, a plethora of other things that Congress is going to have to deal with. It's kind of going to make the Supercommittee be just a super afterthought.
So this is like a cliffhanger, one of those old serials that, you know, the baby boomers used to watch in the movies. Stay tuned, more to come.
It's going to heat up more and more, and the closer you get to the election next year, it should be a pretty interesting season next fall.
Joe Krier, Krier Financial, appreciate your insights.